I don't think there's enough adjectives to describe the Philadelphia Eagles being 12-1 and just straight dominating the New York Giants yesterday. Guys, we are 12-1 through 13 games this season. I can't believe it. We're going to try to figure out how we got here. Trending in the AM starts in 30 seconds.
Holding, gets around in front.
And Philadelphia has it.
And a very good morning, everybody, and welcome to Trending in the AM right here on DSM Media. We're live, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, not Facebook. Still on a little temporary Facebook ban here. Whatever. It happens to the best of us. But what also happens to the best of us, the best team in football goes 12-1 to start the season. I am Phil Stifel. We got Dylan Davis sitting next to me. Dylan, how great does it feel on Victory Monday? Not only do we dominate the Giants, but we just shut up ESPN and all the analytics out there, everybody that has doubted this Philadelphia Eagles team again and again and again. And I'm sure when I get to work today and I turn on my TV at the pizza shop, there'll be more disrespect happening to the Eagles. Mm-hmm. There's not enough adjectives in the English dictionary to describe the feeling waking up this morning has been.
No, man. Doug Peterson crawled so Nick Sirianni could run. I mean, this is the new norm that Doug's talking about, I guess. I don't know, but Victory Monday has just become normal to me. It's just repetition now. It's the same feeling every week.
It's boring now. It's just the same thing every day.
It's like what's next, right? They run through the New York Giants. And I think to just summarize how yesterday went, how beautiful it was. Fox had to turn off an NFC East division rivalry game in December to a Cowboys-Texans game because it was more competitive. Like that. That's how amazing yesterday's game was.
What areas did? Because I saw that floating around social media. It didn't happen in my area.
No, okay. No, it didn't happen. It didn't happen to me either. So I guess in the like local area, the PA and the Jersey area, it didn't happen. But I know like Scotty was in Maryland, just like an hour and a half south, and they switched over, and I guess down the East Coast they switched over. So pretty funny, dude.
Yeah, that actually is probably the easiest way to sum up how simple yesterday went. Look, I went in all week. I talked about just all the Eagles had to do was take it like a businessman approach. Just another game. Forget about the rivalry. And I know there was the James Bradbury returning to New York and some little odds and ends, the Brian Dabble and Jalen Hurts connection. There was reasons that it was a amplified game. But all they had to do was go in and take care of business. And there was no way that the Giants were going to be able to hang with them. And I put out a tweet yesterday, and of course the Giants fans were jumping all over me, Cowboys fans and all, saying, how the hell have the New York Giants even won 7 games? Because you watched that game yesterday.
Oh, here we go.
That is not a 7-5 football team.
They're not. No, they're fraudulent.
Bad football team.
Mm-hmm.
And but you see sometimes when you're playing a bad football team and everything's going right. I mentioned, sometimes you have the trap game or you just don't come out as fired up as you need to.
Yeah.
The Eagles did exactly what they needed to do. They came out, they took care of business. They were, they didn't let themselves get too high, too low, and they did what they had to do. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, like when you play the Houston Texans in Arlington, Texas. I mean, that's just kind of what happens when you play down to an opponent. But it's funny, right, man? Like Thanksgiving, the Giants,
little digging
the jab over and over. It'll happen more times throughout the show this morning, but it wasn't an excuse on Thanksgiving when the Giants were extremely beat up and it came down to the wire almost in Dallas. So it's funny they can pick and choose who the Eagles play and if they're a real opponent or not. None of that matters. What matters, Phil, is that this Eagles team continues to win and how they continue to win. And you and I talked on a pregame show. I don't know if it was the Indy week or the week after the Green Bay week when we basically discussed life without Dallas Goedert and how he's this huge focal point, even if it's not in terms of receptions and yardage and touchdowns, so much runs through him and he takes up so much space over the middle of the field and so much attention. And ever since that first game without him, when the offense struggled to beat Indy with 17 points, this Eagles team has posted 41, 35, and 48 now without Dallas Goedert. So Nick Sirianni's ability to adjust has been incredible. The defense, leading in so many statistical categories and being clutch at times has been incredible. But the biggest thing you asked earlier in the show, in the very beginning, how is this becoming possible? How did this happen? The quarterback taking an outrageous leap. That is the biggest thing. Like you can point to a couple different things that matter, but the one thing that matters the most is how much this dude progressed throughout the season and throughout this offseason. And whether you were a doubter, a hater, or the biggest supporter, I don't care who you were. You cannot tell me you expected this. That ball to Devontae Smith on 4th and long. How many times can we point to a throw where we're like, that's the best throw of his career? That's the best throw of his career. Phil, that's probably the best throw of his career. Like that ball was absolutely perfect. Like, I don't know, man. He's been unbelievable.
He made me think of something. And our guy George, he's always been a supporter of our show.
Yeah.
We had a conversation off the air, and then I brought it up on a show. I don't know if it was you or Scotty or Jason. We discussed a topic, and it was, whatever you thought of Jalen Hurts going into this season, what he had to do to, be the guy going forward. Whether he was at A, does he got to get to B, C, or D? He's not going to get to E yet, but how far along does he have to progress to get that vote of confidence for 2023 and 2024? He skipped over B, C, and D, and he went right to the finish line in one offseason.
Yeah.
Literally one offseason. And look, I don't want this to come out the wrong way. I know there are a lot of people, myself included, that were trying to compare not the quarterbacks, but the progression chart of Josh Allen to Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
I don't want to say that. I'm not trying to say that Jalen Hurts is Josh Allen. There are certain physical traits that Josh Allen has that Jalen Hurts won't ever possess.
Correct.
But the progression there. And you look at it, third year, Josh Allen takes the big leap forward into the MVP conversation. Jalen Hurts, in his third year, isn't leaping into the conversation. I don't think anybody can call us a homerish anymore by saying that Jalen Hurts is the MVP at this moment of this league. There's no conversation.
It's not close. And this happened over the last 3 weeks, because 3 weeks ago, Scotty and I talked about it. Patrick Mahomes, to me, was the no doubt about it quarterback, because Jalen Hurts kept winning ball games, but the numbers, Patty was winning ball games, and the numbers passing wise really weren't all that close. Patty had like 300 more passing yards, if not more. Like the touchdowns to interceptions were big. It's not close anymore. And here's why. So the numbers are there. He's leading the winningest football team in the league, how dominant they are, all that stuff. He's progressed in 3 key areas this offseason and throughout the season, Phil. He's comfortable in the pocket, so that run first mentality, the staying in the pocket, going through your reads, that's checked off. He learned how to read and just destroy a zone defense, because we knew he could go against man, because once the defender's backs get to you, he could take off, use his legs. He couldn't read his zone last year, knows how to read his zone perfectly this year. Lastly, the one question mark, what's his deep ball look like? It's not the zip. It's not how hard he can throw the ball where people, he's got a noodle arm. It's not that. He doesn't have the strongest arm in the world, but that accuracy on the deep ball is damn near perfect. Yeah. Perfect. Check.
Yeah, the deep ball. It's not, you don't have to have the strongest arm to have a great deep ball.
Yeah.
You got to know when to zip it. You got to know when to float it. You got to know how to, it's almost like we talk pitchers, how they try to
boundary placement. Yeah.
Trying to hit corners instead of just throwing the baseball. It's the same thing with throwing a deep ball. You got to know just the right of everything on every single, where the defenders are, where the guys over the top are. There's so much that goes into throwing a good deep ball, and Jalen Hurts is.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't hurt to have A.J. Brown and Devon.
No,
it feels like
it doesn't.
You could just go throw a bet on an A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith anytime touchdown every week, and they're just going to get it every single week, because They score. This week, A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith probably had their worst games of the year, and they combined for 9 catches and 134 yards and 2 touchdowns. I mean, it does help Jalen Hurts when you've got Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown out there.
110%, especially when one of them he played with in college and the other is his best friend, right? and the godfather to his kid, or he's the godfather to his kid. I mean, that's another thing. When you ask about what's been different this year or how did we get here, Howie Roseman and the ability to pull the trigger like that. AJ Brown's been such a difference maker, dude. And you watch week in and week out. I don't know how he got so wide open again. They put a linebacker on him, Phil. A lot. What are you doing? So he's been so dominant. Miles Sanders in a contract year. We talk about Aaron Judge in a contract year. Booby Miles is having a.
Let's talk about Miles Sanders here, because I'll be first admit, I've never been the highest on Miles Sanders.
I mean, I was just, he's gone after this year. Like, that's fine. Let him walk.
Well, Miles Sanders, you know what's crazy? It's that it's not just Jalen Hurts. There's a lot of guys playing themselves into big-ass contracts this offseason. I would not want to be sitting in Howie Roseman's chair. No. Well, I would love to be sitting in his chair this morning.
Well, but making those decisions.
You've had some tough decisions this offseason, and you just look at it. Miles Sanders, over 1,000 yards, first running back since LaShawn McCoy was at 2014 to hit the 1,000-yard mark. Okay,
and Macklin,
it's only 13 games in the season. Knock on wood, because we've had injury issues this year. One of his big concerns has been staying healthy. He stayed healthy. He's doing it. I mean, you look at the difference in yardage.
He didn't score last year.
Exactly. Well, he didn't score at all last year. It's the touchdowns. I was going to say before the touchdowns, you compare just someone like from yesterday, Saquon Barkley. They have about the same yardage this year, but about 100 less carries.
Yeah.
So he's doing it more effectively, more efficiently. And then you throw in the fact that what's he up to, 11 touchdowns on the season
10
now?
10 or 11, yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah,
I mean, the guy has gone and taken advantage of that contract year situation, and wow. I mean, the guy is just.
You can go around and around the carousel, man. There's a lot of different guys you can point to, not only in that contract year, but that are just contributing this season to this Eagles team. And Phil, I tweeted this out yesterday, and I'll throw this to you and get your thoughts on it. 2017 was special. You could feel it from the moment Jake Elliott kicked the 61-yarder. Carson was an MVP candidate, if not the runaway. They were uber talented. Like, I remember facing off against the Patriots, and even with all our injuries, outside of quarterback, it felt like the Eagles ticked a lot of boxes in who was better at this position. This team's more talented. This team's probably deeper, and this team's more dominant. They are more dominant than that 2017 was. I know there was moments. I remember the Arizona game. I remember the San Fran game, the Chicago game. There were moments they were dominant. Phil, this stretch they're on right. I don't remember having 41, 35-10, 48-20. Like, I don't remember this, and the way they're doing it hurts. It feels like a lifetime ago we watched Carson Wentz in an Eagles uniform, but is Hurts MVP for performance outdoing Carson's of that year? That was so special. Like, they're more dominant, man.
I'm sure you watched the game. I don't know how many adult beverages you were having. So by the end of the game, you might not have been, fully focused.
Yeah.
But they put that graphic up on the screen at the end of the game, or towards the end of the game. The Philadelphia Eagles are the first team in NFL history with 3 people with 10 touchdowns already. I mean, Jalen Hurts has 2 rushing touchdowns. A.J. Brown's over 10 receiving touchdowns, and Miles Sanders with over 10 touchdowns. First team in NFL history. I mean, if that doesn't, I was going to say 2 things, but then that graphic, and that graphic, it's still burned in my head. I can't believe that's ever happened before. That 3 people have had 10 touchdowns, on the same team.
Through week 14.
So this is just going to keep going.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of 2 things. I'm thinking back to when Vince Young called this team the dream team.
Yeah.
Obviously it fell apart. This is the dream team.
Yeah. This
team is that kind of level. And you're a baby, you're young, but I know your sports history.
Mm-hmm.
The Bulls. The 72-10 Bulls.
Yeah.
I mean, that was middle high school for me. Okay. I I remember that, like, my dad taught me when I was very young, Dylan, like, you don't always have to like, or like, you don't have to be a Tom Brady fan or a Mike
Appreciate greatness. Yeah, I always say the same thing.
when you
Yeah.
get to see it. And so my dad had me because we could tell that year was special. I watched that season very, very closely and intently. And I'm kind of getting those, like, that's how special this team. Now, who knows what happens once you get to the playoffs? Basketball, football, two totally different ball games. But that's the kind of specialness that this team has right now. That's how elite they are.
And I feel I want to add on to this because he's playing like a top 5 running back right now, 100%.
Sure. Sure.
I want to expand on the word special there because I go back to 2017. I mentioned how that felt special, but it felt special and not just knowing that they were a damn good team, but in a magical, vibey kind of sense. Like the vibes were high in the city. They went on this run, right? This team's special, but they're special because they're just a damn good football team. Like that, that's all there is to it. There's no vibe week to week. There's no gut feeling I have about this team. I just know that every week they're going to show up.
This is probably what New England fans and Tom Brady felt during the 16-0 New England Patriots kind of run. You know, when Tom Brady and Randy Moss were putting up 50 touchdown passes in a season. This
unfortunately that season didn't end too well.
It didn't end right, but this is probably what, like, unbeatable. That's how. I mean, I know we've got the one loss on our record, and it wasn't a good week. It was obviously a bad game, but you know what they did? They were able to solve those problems pretty much immediately.
Yeah,
rectify those problems, bring in extra players. I mean, it's unbelievable how dominant they've become.
And Phil, and I feel bad because we've spent the first 17 minutes of the show talking Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown, the offense. Rightfully so. You score 48, we're going to talk about you. But we haven't talked about the other side too much. And you mentioned double digits, the 10-plus touchdowns, right? Mm-hmm. How many guys on this defensive line are going to have double-digit sack seasons?
At least 3. Reddick's already
there. What's Hargrave at?
And Sweat's at 7.5.
And Hargrave might already be there.
Hargrave's at 8. Graham's at 8.5, and Sweat's at 7.5. So you might have 4 guys getting double-digit sacks.
Yeah, and I don't remember our defensive line having a bunch of guys with 10, 11, 12, 13 sacks.
Back in the early 90s, Reggie White, Jerome Brown, and I believe it was Clyde Simmons all had double-digit sacks in one season. Jerome Brown, I mean, bring it home for Jerome.
Are you talking about 2 GOATs probably? So I mean, I guess that speaks to something there, right? But no, for like they're just the defensive side of things, the line, the depth, like, dude, like having Linval, like as crazy as it sounds, Linval, Joseph, and Ndamukong have just been solid pickups. You don't notice them for negative reasons. You only notice them for clogging up the interior of the line or being in the backfield at times, which Linval Joseph wasn't supposed to do.
You know what I love? I love the track snap counts. I'm a big believer in snap counts, especially on defense. There were 64 defensive plays, okay? On defense, the front line, okay? Nobody played 50% of snaps. Javon Hargrave played 31 of 64 snaps. That was tops. Josh Sweat played 30. Graham, Cox, and Sue played 29. I'm actually surprised Ndamukong Sue played 29 snaps. But 29 snaps, 24 for Williams, 19 for Joseph, and 15 for Jordan Davis. That right there, first off, you see the weakness in Washington. You go out and get Sue and Joseph. Yep. Then you get Jordan Davis back. And now you could keep these guys so fresh. They're not even playing half the game. Not even half the game they're playing. Which means come playoff time, they're going to be ready. They're going to be healthy. They're going to be rested. Well, we'll see about healthy, but they're going to be rested. They're not going to be burned out. And, I mean, this should be, in my mind, and this might be a little homerish right now, not only is Jalen Hurts the MVP, we could talk about it later in the show. I think Nick Sirianni's the coach of the year at this point.
He should be.
Well, you should be giving Howie Roseman executive of the year as well. Going out and getting Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, A.J. Brown before
They'll never do it. They'll never do it, but they should.
Mid-season, getting Joseph and Sue and just plucking them out of thin air. Just give the guy the job. Just give him the title right now.
Fleecing New Orleans for the interception leader, and he's on the IR at the moment. Like, There's so many things you can point to, and they'll never give all three. But Jalen right now should be the odds-on favorite to win MVP. Nick, I mean, before Phil, you had what? Brian Dable was a candidate. Well, they're 1-4-1 in their last 6, so he's and they might not make the playoffs anymore. They probably won't at this point, so he's on his way out. The Seahawks with Pete Carroll having a resurgence with Geno, they're going back downhill. So all these teams that were overachieving that are coming back down to earth right now, while Nick's still soaring high, it should be him. And then if they finish with 2 losses. And how he does all this work in the offseason, I don't know how you don't give him the award, honestly. But speaking of sacks also, because he's had 1 in 3 or 4 straight games, Fletcher Cox is up to 6-2. So Fletcher Cox could finish with 8 or 9 sacks on the year, which you never thought about.
I saw the stat before the show, and I didn't write it down. I didn't know what we were going to talk about specifically. The Eagles' record, I believe, is 61 sacks in a season. They're less than 20 sacks away from breaking their team record of all time.
With they've got 4 games left?
4 games left.
Yeah.
Can they get 18 or 19 sacks in 4 games and set the new team record? I mean,
they could.
That's how good. But see, the thing is, if you don't go out and get Joseph and Sue, if Jordan Davis doesn't come back, they're not going to be as dominant on the front 4. They're not going to even get not stop the run, but get the sacks play just as much of a factor in keeping those guys fresh as the run. They're not doing that if they don't go out and get those guys.
But Phil, we need more sacks. When's the last time we had an interception?
Oh, I'm sorry. Our secondary stinks because we haven't had an interception in 2 or 3 weeks.
The best part was they had 2 interceptions the week prior, but we need more sacks. They're second in the league in sacks, bro. I don't know what to tell you.
I will. You know what? Let's spend like 30 seconds now. We can spend a few minutes on it. Yeah. I do want to say that I am concerned. I have one concern.
Okay.
And that is the back end of the secondary. Reed Blankenship has been playing well in his little cup of coffee in the replacement of Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Mm-hmm. Gardner-Johnson is still at least 2 more weeks away. That did not look like those non-contact knee injuries, they scare me. I mean, we've seen it enough times to just know non-contact to the knee normally means you're done.
Right, especially in the Meadowlands.
Especially in the Meadowlands. I mean, that turf is, I mean, I don't know if you've ever felt a piece of turf, but I got some AstroTurf from the vet right back here.
In the rain, too.
Yeah, it sucks. We'll just say that. I'm concerned because Kayvon Wallace proved again yesterday. He's just not the guy. I want him to be the guy. And he had, I think, 5 or 6 tackles yesterday. I'm so excited about yesterday. I didn't even pull the box score up to look at for the show. Yeah. Like, I don't even care about the box score. But he had like 5 or 6 tackles yesterday. Problem is,
behind.
He's always behind. He's always playing catch up on his tackles. And he's just not the guy.
He had 5 solo, tackles, too.
Yeah. I mean, they're all from behind. So if Blankenship's out and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson's still out for 2 more weeks, Howie Roseman's going to have to pull another miracle out of his ass because I can't go into next week with Epps and Kayvon Wallace. I mean, that's what we thought that was going to be the starting tandem to start the year, actually, before we brought, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson in. And Epps again with another personal foul yesterday in the end zone there. Kind of got to question that a little bit there. How he's got to go out and address this week, obviously, right?
You hope so. It's just how many cards does he have left up his sleeve? We're getting to a point now. We're getting to week 15. I know OBJ doesn't think playing in the regular season is important, but we need someone ASAP because I agree with you. I cannot have Kayvon Wallace next to Marcus Epps, in my secondary right now. Now you are playing 118 passing yard Justin Fields this week, so you might be able to get away with it.
See, I think it's even more important. More important to have a safety,
but
because of his running ability. You need somebody. You can't. You think Kayvon Wallace could catch up to a tight end or a running back? Kayvon Wallace is not catching up to Justin Fields when he gets out in the open field. He'll run right past him.
I know,
and it's a shame because I kind of have this Jalen Reagor type, feeling that Howie Roseman has towards Kayvon Wallace. He just can't give up on the kid. Like, he just won't get – like, it took so long to give up on Jalen Reagor. You see Jalen Reagor, by the way, guarantee victory yesterday for the Vikings? He guaranteed victory.
Of course he did.
Yeah, of course he did. I don't even know if he had a catch. Actually, let me see if he actually. I know they lost, obviously, to the Lions.
Check snap count guy.
Yeah, I
want to know how many times did he even get on the field? That's what I want to know. Were you on the field?
Jalen Reagor had 1 target, no catches, no yards. Let's see if he did. He actually had a tackle on special teams.
Phil,
you're
bringing up
9 yards.
You're stirring up a lot of old emotions I have buried deep inside of me from his time here in Philadelphia. And no offense, like anyone that takes it too far, that says stupid shit or sends them messages, you're an ass. But you'll wonder why the dude was hated. You just shut, just zip it, shut it.
Division rival Lions, who are playing red hot football all of a sudden.
If you can't even see the field, if you're not a factor in the outcome of the game, shut your mouth. That's all I can say. You know what The Rock used to say, Phil? Know your role, and shut your mouth.
I love it because I know the reporters realize that he's just a soundbite waiting to happen,
Jesus.
and it's not even like they have to egg him on. It's like clockwork for him. I don't even know why we don't. But anyway, Kayvon Wallace kind of
stirred up a lot.
That Kayvon Wallace, like, we just can't move on from him. And now we're stuck because, you would have been better off.
Yeah, you really don't have anywhere else to go.
If you would have cut him before the season, you would have had somebody else in here. Now, would they have been better? I don't know, but they wouldn't have been any worse than Kayvon Wallace. And
I'm not really sure what our practice squad situation looks like at the moment. So,
I mean, we've already called up Blankenship from the practice squad.
Yeah, that's true.
So I don't know. But the problem is, not moving on from players at the right time puts you in this position. And you've got the Bears this week, yes. Should be an easy cakewalk. They're only one of 3 teams that are eliminated from playoff contention. But then you got the Cowboys still coming up. You still got some important games to play. I mean, 2 weeks till Chauncey Gardner-Johnson's available to come back?
I heard week 18.
Yeah. I mean, there's a chance he doesn't play till the playoff. I mean, if he's not available till week 18,
and they locked it up, he's not playing week 18.
Advantage. Why even rush him?
They won't. Yeah.
I mean, it's a concern. That's all I'll say. It's a concern.
For sure.
I don't know how you fix that problem at this point.
For sure. I'll tell you. And another concern that is kind of gotten cleaned up, but also shows flashes of concern. Special teams.
Yeah.
I guess even though we don't love it, Boston Scott has to keep returning kicks at this point.
I said it like week 1 he should have been returning kicks, and he's actually better at it than.
Can I ask you a question? You talked about adult beverages, right? I don't know how many you had, but did you pay attention to how many times they referred to Britton Covey as a return specialist yesterday? And they were talking about how many returns he had in college. They said it maybe 4 or 5 times. So
didn't he graduate college like 17 years ago? And
I don't know. I have no idea.
College days. I mean,
he weighs 109 pounds soaking wet. I don't know what happens, but when I kept hearing return specialist Britton Covey, I wanted to throw up in my mouth. Listen, I know he had a good week last week. I get it. Cool. Great. They still need to fix that area. Hacking up along.
Yeah, that's what happens when you talk about Britton Covey and Kayvon Wallace.
That's true.
I choke on things. But then also, so it's kind of the only thing that could stop this team, in my opinion, is injuries. And you got Aaron Sippos goes down. Now, I mean, Aaron Sippos hasn't had the greatest season as a punter, but now you got to go out and get a punter. And then you had Lane Johnson go down yesterday. Now, Lane Johnson did say after the game, if it was a close game, he could have probably toughed it out with an oblique injury, but he still had to go for more testing. Now, it kind of feels like Howie Roseman's pulling some of those Flyers things where they're out for a day or 2, but then it turns into 4 weeks or whatnot. I'm concerned that all of a sudden they're going to be like, all right, we're 12-1. They're going to be extra cautious with Lane Johnson, and you might lose Lane Johnson for a few days, a few weeks. And look, we're 12-1. We've got room to,
Vikings lost yesterday, like we said.
Game, whatever, it happened. We've got that backup little cushion. But the thing is, right now this team is flying on so many cylinders. It's clicking. It's pumping on all cylinders right now. You just want to keep them going. Yep. You know what I mean? You don't want anything to slow that momentum down. And injuries could slow that momentum down, change things up a little bit, and honestly, at this point, that's the only concern there is.
Yeah, there shouldn't be anything else with it in terms of Eagles fans or even Eagles doubters, right? And people will still have something to say, but you can't question the quarterback anymore through 14 weeks when he's the MVP leader. You can't question the defensive coordinator too much. Obviously, we could talk about the philosophy and the scheme, but when you look at the production of the defense, what do you really want to talk about? Special teams, is that what we're going to do? We're going to say special teams is going to prevent them from winning a Super Bowl? Probably not, unless they let up like an opening drive, an opening kick return for a touchdown, the Super Bowl, right? So outside, you're right. Outside of injuries, there's no worry from me if this team's going to show up week to week, because I know they're going to.
You actually said something there, and I think it kind of gets into the coaching aspect of it and how we constantly are complimenting Nick Sirianni, but we got to do it to Jonathan Gannon and Shane Steichen too. I know we don't like Jonathan Gannon in this city, but he's got these guys playing well. His schemes aren't great all the time.
Right, you can have questions.
Well. Yeah, but the thing is, you say, well, the only way special teams hurts us if they give up a special, like a kick return to open the Super Bowl. But see, the thing is, this coaching staff has got these guys trained so well to never let their emotions get too high or too low. That I see the Eagles could be down 21-0 in a second quarter of a football game, and I wouldn't be worried that they wouldn't be able to come back. Because, and look, it starts with Jalen Hurts, but it also starts with Jalen Hurts' confidence like that starts with Nick Sirianni and the coaching staff and what they've instilled and taught behind the scenes. These guys are just never down. They just don't give. So I wouldn't even be concerned if they gave up a kick return to start the Super Bowl, because Jalen Hurts would be like, all right, my turn.
Yeah,
that's the mentality.
Yeah. No, and real quick, that's how beautiful yesterday's start was. You hit the 3-and-out on defense, and then that drive was just methodical down the field for 7, right? But it's just ironic because you bring up the coaching staff and Nick Sirianni and emotions and never get too low, never get too high. And it's so funny if he's got them that way. Meanwhile, this dude wears his heart on his sleeve. And it's like, I love it at this point. Like, if they were losing and he was just fired up, like Dan Campbell used to be, and I'm like, dude, what, you want to start winning a ball game, right? You're 12-1. You call up a great play design on 4th and long, and it goes for a great throw and a touchdown. Hell yeah, run down the sideline screaming your head off. Do whatever you want.
And he's
fired up.
The players feed off of that. I used to think it was. I know I got into this whole thing last year with the pandering and stuff like that. But realistically speaking, the players love that.
Right.
You know what I mean? They
feed when you're winning. Players probably don't love it when you're talking about Flowers. When you're,
well, you do know
5-11.
Flower talk, they're 19-4 since that.
Yeah,
Flower.
I know it's pretty.
So let's not bash the Flower talk. The Flower talk.
I did a whole podcast on that. I did a whole podcast on ripping that.
I probably did too. I did like 3 podcasts on his T-shirt. So I called it I even had a whole thing T-shirt.
T-shirt gate.
Yeah, but whatever. It is what it is. We're gonna take a quick pause in the action. Today's show is brought to you by Gents Barber Lounge. Check out one of their 2 great locations, Fishtown and Old City. Book your appointment today. They own the craft and it shows, rated the #1 barbershop on Yelp in the Philadelphia area. Check out some of their great work right here. And we're back here, DSM Media, trending in the AM. I am Phil Stiefel. That is Dylan Davis. And guys, we're 12-1. And at this point, there's not much more positive that we can really say. So the question is, going forward, how do we keep this momentum? How do we keep ourselves, how do the players keep themselves motivated? But how do we as the fans keep
How do I stay motivated?
Right, exactly. Till the playoffs get here.
Yeah.
How do we keep? Well, to me, it's as much important to worry. Like, look, how do you get yourself up next Sunday for a game against the 3-10 Bears? A game that, I expect the coaches to have this team, just like the Giants, big rivalry game. I said, workmanlike approach, go in, take care of business, get it over with. That's how I expect them to go next week. And I have the confidence in the coaching staff to have them, prepared for that. As a fan, it's a little difficult. It's almost now as a fan, Dylan, to me, where I care more about all the other games going on than the actual Eagles, because I want to see our competition. When we get to the playoffs, I want to know, can we beat the Cowboys? Of course. Can we beat the 49ers? Of course. Can we beat the Buccaneers? Of course. Whatever. A little subliminal, throw words in there, Did you watch any of the other football games? And did you watch that 49ers game? And are you even remotely concerned about Brock Purdy, the guy that just ended Tom Brady's career, basically, in a roundabout way yesterday, and those 49ers? Because I watched a lot of other football yesterday, and I'm not concerned about Miami. I'm not concerned about, Dallas.
No.
I'm not concerned about these other teams. But, man, if Deebo Samuel is not out for the year, which is going to be something we have to watch and see how that goes down, that's a huge, huge loss if he is. San Francisco's a damn good football team. I know they're 9-4. They're not 12-1 like some teams in the NFL, but they're a damn good 9-4 football team that I'm going to be heavily concerned about going forward because they do a lot of things great. They really do.
So real quick, you mentioned what can you do as an Eagles fan to stay up week to week? You can gamble. That's one option.
Yeah,
21 and above. Please feel free.
Let me tell you something, Dylan. I texted you this. If you would have ruined my monster parlay,
if Geno Smith would have ruined our monster parlay.
No. I am now. So for anybody watching, I found these monster teasers on DraftKings. Didn't even know they existed until 4 weeks ago. I was perfect 3 for 3 on them. Basically, it's a 13-point teaser spread. Love them. They're like 4 sure things. And then Dylan's like, I'm going to copy your teaser this week. Of course, then it involved Seattle. What was it, -9, and they took a
plus 9.5.
Yeah, plus 9.5, and it took a last-second touchdown to cover that.
Yeah,
I would have blamed you. I would have wanted. Yeah. I had $100 on that teaser. I would have asked you for $100 because it would have been your fault if I lost.
I only threw 50 on it, and listen, man. I mean, it's partially your fault. I mean, you did put it on social media. I mean,
I put every bet on social media.
Well, people are going to tell, Phil. And when I see something I like, I'm going to go and take it. And lucky for you, Geno Smith hit a backdoor cover.
I do take tips, just so you know.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah, my tip on Bearded Knowledge, a little top screen. Drop me tips. I'm making y'all money. Drop me a little percentage. Come on, guys.
9 cents for the beard, okay? Here's so you can do that, and then obviously, luckily, Christmas Eve with the family, Eagles Cowboys, probably going to mean a little bit something. We might have a 2-game lead, but you got that in the middle of all this junk, right? Yes, Phil, I did watch Red Zone. I watched the 4 o'clock games I watched last night. Miami, you mentioned AFC team. Obviously, wouldn't see them unless they reach the Super Bowl versus the Eagles. But my God, they are on a downfall at the moment. Bad day to be Emmanuel Acho, Tua, most accurate quarterback in the league versus social media quarterback Justin Herbert. Didn't go his way last night. But then you look at the NFC, right? You got Dallas, which obviously we're going to find out about again in 2 weeks. We didn't face them with Dak Prescott the first time. We'll see how that looks this time and kind of reevaluate and see how confident we are then. Minnesota obviously already took care of them. Just got their doors blown off by the Detroit Lions. I know they're playing good, but
Detroit's still got a chance at making the playoffs at this point.
Yeah. So, they're kind of on the back door.
If you think about it, we've been bragging and talking about how that Saints pick is going to turn into a top 5 pick. Technically, the Saints could still win that division.
Yeah, I know.
They won't. That's bad.
Andy Dalton won't, but it's okay. Yeah. And then you look around the back door of the wild card. You got your Washingtons, the Giants, Seattle's, whatever. You mentioned the team. It is the team that I said pre-Jimmy Garoppolo injury was, if healthy on defense and healthy on offense, the biggest roadblock to the Eagles in the NFC getting to the Super Bowl, with one question: what is Jimmy Garoppolo? Because he's been San Fran's roadblock since they've been there. Don't get me wrong. They've reached the Super Bowl. They got to the NFC Championship, but you're not winning because of Jimmy Garoppolo, right? You'll win in spite of Jimmy Garoppolo. He goes down. Insert Brock Purdy. Man, their season's looking bleak now. Brock Purdy? Are you joking?
Who?
Listen, I'm not going to jump the gun on 1 week. He threw for 195 passing yards. The Bucs look horrifying. I don't know what to make of it. But is he good? Maybe he's good. Phil. I don't know.
See, to me, it's not even about Brock Purdy because it was the Bucs. The Bucs are a train wreck. I mean, Tom Brady, really. I mean, you gave up on Giselle for this. Come on now.
I mean, apparently he does have a younger, another supermodel girlfriend right now. So
okay,
yeah.
gotcha. I mean,
I'm not feeling bad for Tom. Okay.
From what I heard, she jumped back into the dating market much quicker than he did.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If it was him first, that would have been a problem. But her, it's okay.
Yeah.
My concern with that 49ers team, and this is, mind you, if Debo is not out for the year, because you lose Debo.
Well, that's the biggest thing. Yeah.
Right. But see, the biggest thing is Christian McCaffrey. Him going to San Francisco. I mean, I don't know how much you watch. I mean, I've always followed him because for some reason
I have him in 2 playoff fantasy leagues.
Yeah, it's like almost every year I end up with him in fantasy football, at least 1 or 2 teams. I've been following him for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
He looks rejuvenated. He looks fresh. He looks excited to play football again. And I look at him and our defense, and look, our defense is playing top of the line, great right now. But I look at TJ Edwards, I look at Kazir White, I look at our team, the edges of our team, because he doesn't just he runs through the middle, but he runs the outside.
Mm-hmm.
He catches the ball out of the backfield.
He a lot too.
He does everything. I would be heavily concerned.
It's a matchup problem, but I do I do think the dynamic of that offense with him, like he becomes a lot more valuable and scary when Debo's on the other side of the field with him or in the backfield with him. You take Debo Samuel away. I'm not saying it's easy to key on Christian McCaffrey, but there's a reason he wasn't leading the Carolina Panthers to the playoffs as a running back every year. You know what I mean? Because they didn't have a Debo Samuel and else around them. They still have Brandon Ayuk. They still have George Kittle. And that defense is that. That's the thing. To me, that would be a hell of a matchup at the link, Phil. This offense versus that defense. Man on man, who wins?
We got the second best defense in football. Guess who has the first best defense?
Yeah.
Number 1 defense in football.
Yes.
San Francisco. So, I mean, it pretty much, that's exactly what we expected from them this year. We expected them to be the best defense in football, and they're living up to it.
Yeah.
I just get a little concerned. That's all.
They are the concern, man.
Yeah. Here's the question for you, and I heard them say this on the broadcast last night, and because they were kind of joking and playing into the Brock Purdy, and look, it's a great story. I love a good story like Brock Purdy like that. Almost reminds me of like the Coy Detmer stories and the AJ Feely type stories and stuff like that. Everybody loves a backup story. Yeah, that's why Nick Foles is a legend in this city. If Jimmy Garoppolo, they said that there's a chance that he's ready to play by the playoffs. If Jimmy Garoppolo is ready, say Brock Purdy goes 2-1 or 3-1 in his time starting in San Francisco, do you go back to Jimmy Garoppolo or do you let it ride with Brock Purdy? Because Brock Purdy has more upside in the playoffs.
In the playoffs. You would have to leave it as is if they finish strong. And it all depends what the offense looks like, right? If they're winning games, but they're winning 13-3 because of the defense, you probably tinker with it and you might go back to the veteran that's been there before. But if Brock Purdy's doing stuff that Jimmy can't in this offense, if this offense is putting up 27, 28 points per game, I don't think you're messing with that heading into the playoffs, especially if they're winning ball games. But he's going to be, honestly, Phil, outside of watching an Eagles game, Brock Purdy is going to be what I'm keeping my eye on week to week because he is the biggest question mark and concern to me in Philadelphia on what does he bring to the table versus probably the all-around best team that the Eagles could play in the playoffs.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're spot on there. I mean, I just keep looking at all the scores from this past week so far. And obviously you got New England, Arizona tonight. Is there another meaningless, pointless Monday Night Football game?
Absolutely stoked for that one.
Yeah, I know, exactly. But you just look across the board. Kansas City, I mean, for as great as Kansas City is, I mean, hell, I think Patrick Mahomes has as many turnovers yesterday as Jalen Hurts has had all year.
You know what I mean? 3 interceptions, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's just nothing that excited me. There's no team that excites me this year. Hell, Buffalo, again, struggling to put away the New York Jets again. It just goes to show how dominant the Philadelphia Eagles have been. This has been that season of so much parity that anybody can win on any given Sunday. So many teams are still, hell, at this point, having only 3 eliminated teams, and there's only 1 team that's clinched a playoff spot, the Eagles. It's insane to think there's only 4 weeks left, and there's only 3 eliminated teams technically from the playoffs.
Look at who they beat last week. The Tennessee Titans. They were up and coming, right? And not up and coming, but they had won. They had gone 7-1 in 8 games before seeing the Eagles or before seeing the Bengals. They lose to the Bengals. They get their doors blown off by the Eagles. Now they get their doors blown off by Dougie P. 3 losses in a row.
370 yards for Trevor Lawrence against that Titans defense.
Absurd, man. It's crazy right now. So you are right. It's been the one thing that I've focused on Turf Talk with Scotty, and that is the just who's real, who's fraudulent, the back and forth, the up and down, the roller coaster season we've had. And for a long time, there were 3 you could point to, right? It was us, it was Buffalo, and it was Kansas City. I think it's dissipated to just Philly, and then there's a tier below them.
Yeah, you always see those tier things on Twitter, like tier A, tier B, tier C. It's tier A is just Philadelphia.
Yeah, you know what's funny? I said to Scotty last night. There's an NFL in London Facebook page. Okay. I don't know too much about it. The Eagles are in tier B. They had
how did people disrespect the Eagles this week? You know,
that's and this was posted last night too. So I don't know when it was made, but it was posted prior to after the Giants win. They have San Fran, Kansas City, Buffalo, Dallas, and Miami in tier 1 Super Bowl contenders. Then they have the Eagles in tier 2, have the tools to make a deep playoff run. Minnesota, Philly, Baltimore, Tennessee, Cincinnati. I don't know too much about the page, if it's a fan page, if it's what, but this is what was posted.
I mean, obviously you saw all the ESPN analytics stuff from last week.
Oh, yeah.
Cowboys being the favorites to make the Super Bowl and make a Super Bowl run and stuff.
Well, I don't know if you know, Michael Irvin did the analytics for it. That's how they decide. That's
him and his concussed brain, doing the analytics.
Like, what are we doing? They have a 50% chance to make the Super Bowl. Based on what? What are you making this graphic on?
I can't wait. Like last week, I said I was scared to turn ESPN on because I didn't know what was going to pop up. That was popped up. This week, I'm excited to turn ESPN on because I want to see how they change the narrative again this week. Because they're going to find some narrative to disrespect this Philadelphia Eagles team. And honestly, I'm going to bash them. But honestly, I don't care. There's nothing that can be when you're 12-1 in this NFL. That's all you have to say. There's nothing else to say. That is it. That's the end of the story right there. That's it.
It's like when you're blowing someone out and a player on the opposing team starts to chirp you, and all you get scoreboard, brother, scoreboard, and that's what you look at with this Eagles record.
Yeah. I forget what game was it. I think it was the 49ers game last night. The Buccaneers had a turnover, and they ran to the end zone and celebrated as a defense. Like, guys, you're down 35-0 right now. You're celebrating that turnover? Come on now, guys. Let's.
Oh, but Tom threw a touchdown to Russell Gage in the 4th.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that does nothing for me. Tom Brady he's done, isn't he?
Cooked, brother. Cooked. Yeah. And it was how funny is it that literally a couple nights ago you got the resurgence. Down 16-3. He leads the comeback. Are they back? Oh my God.
You know how I knew he was cooked? There was a play, I forget where it was in the game. He threw a pass to Mike Evans in the end zone that he was trying to back shoulder it to him, and he threw it at his ankles or something like that, and behind him. It was.
Oh, but Phil, he hit his hand. He hit his hand on his helmet. On a helmet.
Did he? Oh, okay, there's an excuse. Oh, okay, gotcha. That was a bad pass. It was a really bad pass. I looked at that pass.
The best was early on in the game. They had the deep ball to Evans for a 68-yard touchdown. That got called back for holding.
Yeah, exactly.
One of the bright spots for
the game right there. That actually probably hits. I had a parlay on that game, and I fell one Mike Evans catch short on that parlay. So.
Nice. That
one probably was it right there.
Yeah,
just like AJ Brown. If he doesn't, AJ Brown has a tendency to drop some passes and lose a little focus time to time. I fell one AJ Brown catch shy of another parlay or two.
Yeah,
so.
That's a tough one. Wide open over the middle. Remember that one.
Right. I think we're just going to wrap this show. I don't even want to spend 10 minutes. I was going to say, do we want to spend 10 minutes talking Sixers?
Joel Embiid for MVP?
Man, what can I say bad about Joel Embiid to make him go off again? Because every time I say something negative about Joel Embiid, because I was texting my brother yesterday about the Sixers, and I'm like, this and that, negative talking with my brother about the Sixers. And
he's got 53.
Some points together.
Yeah.
Why you can't do it every day, I don't know.
I will say, before we wrap up, it is absurd to me because I always see NBA on ESPN or whatever, all these Twitter accounts, and they give the updated top 10 MVP candidates, and he's yet to be in it. but yet he's got better numbers than everybody on that effing list. Dude, he's averaging 33.5 with 10 rebounds and 5 assists.
Yeah, I mean,
and he ain't top 10 MVP voting.
Yeah, there's an obvious bias towards him, but
sorry.
Maybe we'll get into that tomorrow. You want to join me tomorrow? We'll get into that tomorrow.
Sure, man.
We got to talk some Sixers tomorrow. So anyway, everybody have a great day. We're gonna wrap that up right there. Trending in the AM on DSM Media. Make sure you shoot Dylan a follow. Dylan JD98. Beard of Knowledge for me. Dude, no ads.
Subscribe to the YouTube channel.
Yes. What are we at? 687 now?
Yes, man. On the road to 700. Help us out. It's
free.
Free content every day.
We've been on this goddamn road to 700 for like 700 days now, man.
Well, I don't know if it's no offense. I don't mean to call the subscribers out, but I don't know if it's bots or I don't know if it's people. But who subscribes and then we'll get up to 687. Next thing you know, we're at 678. How does that happen?
Yeah, bots, a lot of different things. Or they just hear you talking and they
that could be. It's not a bad point.
What do you got going on today? Are you guys doing Turf Talk this afternoon?
Yes, sir. 5 p.m. Scotty and I will be live, breaking down this Eagles-Giants game more, as well as the rest of the Sunday slate.
Are you going to talk about this exciting Monday Night Football game?
Yeah, probably not. I'll probably give you a best bet. It'll cash just like last Monday night's best or last Thursday night's best bet hit and Monday night. So, if you want to tail, you can tail. I don't know if to tell you, but you're missing out.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we're going to wrap it up right there. Everybody have a great day. We'll be back tomorrow morning, 8:30 a.m. Trending in the AM. Subscribe.